Hello guys, this is William. I recently uh, finished a new UI kit called Fiber, which is focused on using React Native animations. So you have all some really cute and fancy animations, scrolling animations like this. Here also the like button is nicely animated. You can also refresh the feed and so it is inspired from the UI kit of the same name from Framer, which is really heavily animation driven. So it was really fun to implement this in React Native and to explore what you can do in terms of animations with React Native. And you can get it at react-native.shop if you're interested to get some starter kits for a React Native project. So now I think it would be really cool to add Firebase backend to such an app. Um, Really, I mean, to me, Firebase is my go-to backend for a mobile app. It supports authentication, database, storage, push notifications, and so on. And also, you can build some middleware. And and if you use the free version, you can actually do a lot of stuff already, like without paying anything. So I think it's really amazing that for free you can get actually a very good backend for your app. It's quite incredible, and I've used it also for an app I have in production. Uh, we use it also for Facebook login and all sorts of stuff. So I would like to add Firebase support to this app, and I thought it could be cool it would be cool, sorry, to record the coding session because maybe also you are interested to do the same thing in your project. So you might find this video useful. And so in this first part, I will just add the authentication support, and then we would look into the database and maybe also using storage, because in the app you can take a picture and share it on the feed. So probably we also need to store the pictures in Firebase. So let's get started. I have just need to merge this quickly. So I'm going to create a new project into Firebase. And while this loads, what I can do also is to add the Firebase npm package to my project. All right. And so the first thing I'm going to do is to enable a sign-in method for my project. So I'm just going to use email password. All right, that looks good. I'm installing the package. And I think this should give me some credentials somewhere. Or web setup, I think was. Perfect. So what I'm gonna do in my project, I'm gonna create a new. So what I like to do usually, I create a class called Firebase, and it's mostly like static methods, and I use it to do the init and yeah, to all instances of like auth, database, and so on. So I'm gonna create a new file called Firebase. I can copy and paste the credentials. So I can create a static method called init. And maybe a member called, let's say, auth. And so I can do and I need to import Firebase module. All right, that looks good. Now I can go in app.js, import the class. And where to I guess I could do it in component will mount. So right now it feels a bit silly to just have built one class for such a basic functionality, but as I feel like as we're gonna grow the usage of Firebase within the app, it's nice to encapsulate everything into one class, and maybe probably we can build some helper functions and things like this. So I think now the first thing, let's see first if things work properly. Doesn't seem to. Oh yes, I forgot to export from the index. Okay. So hopefully it shouldn't complain too much. And so, all right. So no complaints. So I think the first thing we're gonna do is just so we have the sign up here, and so name, email, password, and so once we have this information, we're gonna really create an account with Firebase. So I think now what we need to do is to, in each screen, so name, email. So every time we go from one screen to the other, we need to store the information from the previous screen. So when we set password, we also have access to the name and email, and then we can create the account with Firebase. So I'm trying to think how the best way to do that. Maybe we can store it in the Firebase class. We can create an object called registration info, and it contains display name, email, and email, yes. So here, before we we go to the sign up email page. We can store in the Firebase class so the display name, which will be so now also we need to store the values for each text field. But so it would be the first name, a space, and the last name. And probably this we will store in the state. All right. Import the Firebase class. Yeah, so we need to add a state which contains the values for each field. So first name, and I think unchange text is the event method. Let me check. Yes, unchange text, perfect. Okay. So in component will mount, we initialize the state. And we need to create the set first name method and set last name method. All right, looks good. Now we need to do the same for email. So we also need to add a state, import the Firebase class. Initialize the state in component will mount. Let me check, yeah, looks good. And create a set email method. So the cool thing about recording such session is that you know, hopefully it's helpful to you, like to see how it's done, but also hopefully maybe, you know, you're looking at it and you're like, you know, what is it doing? Like maybe I'm not, you know, doing it the best way possible. I'm missing something. So it would be interesting also to get some feedback from you, and you know, if there are things I could improve, or you know, if I'm thinking like the way I think about these things could be improved. But so anyway, so let's create a set email method. And so here on change text, set. All right. And now in password, also we need to store the value of the password. Right. Initialize the state. Create a set password method. Put it in on change text. Okay, great. Okay, so now what I would like to do is just to see if what we've done so far worked. When we submit on password, I'm gonna check the values of email, name, and password to see if everything worked properly. So I also need to import the Firebase mode class. So I want to log the registration info plus the password. All right, so let's see if we've made some mistakes or not. I think, I'm not sure if the log should appear in the console. Let's see. So the email, so we have the email, so we have the display name, password, but not the email, and I think it's because we forgot to, like the way we did it here, we forgot to do it for email. So here we need to do Firebase registration information email equals email. All right, so now that should work nicely. And so now we have all the information to create a registration. So if we go in the Firebase web SDK, I'm not sure how it's called, but let's say create account. So let's try to find which method to use to create the account. Authentication. Create user with email password. That looks good. All right. So I'm gonna use await. If there is an error, we show it as an alert. And if everything goes well, we go to home. Okay, I just need to make some changes. So Flow doesn't complain. Okay. All right, let's have a look. Oops. Next. Oops. So here the password display in. Okay, I will fix it later, but it shouldn't. It should be a secure text entry here. Is it secure? Yeah. All right. Okay. Oops. So let me try again. All right, seems to have worked. Let's see if the account was created in Firebase. Yeah, that seems to be the case. So that's great. I think now what we can do is to listen to changes in the authentication, and if so, when we load the app, if we're authenticated, we redirect to home directly. If not, we redirect to the welcome page. So let's go in app, and so here we have a state, app state, which is ready. So we load the we need to load like fonts, and so we wait. So if the fonts are not loaded, we still show the splash screen, and once the fonts are loaded, we finally display the app. And I think here we're gonna need to wait for the authentication status to be reported. So first we're gonna check is the user logged in or not, and wait for this to be reported, and like redirect to the proper screen according to that. So maybe ready, we need to call now static assets loaded, and then we can say hot status reported, and then we can create a third variable, which is the user authenticated. Is user authenticated. So we need these three variables when loaded our app. Are the static assets loaded? Is the status authentication status from Firebase reported yet? And is the user authenticated or not? And that's what we're going to need to initialize our app properly. All right. Um, so the method name I think is on, I'm not sure where it's documented, on hot status changed. I'm not sure where I can find the API reference. Google for it. I think that's the one. Yeah, looks good. Okay. So when this method is invoked, we know that the hot status has been reported and the user is authenticated if the user object exists. And maybe I need to also initialize here the variables. All right, it looks good. So now, if the static assets are not loaded and the hot status is not reported, we still show the app loading the splash screen. So if one of the two, yeah, so if the two are true, we show the app, and according to is the user authenticated or not, we're going to show the welcome screen or the home screen. So if so now I need to do to split my navigator. So I'm going to create if the user authenticated private navigator. And if not, I go to the public navigator. All right. So here I need to do a split. So we have the public navigator, and we need to create a private. So private, I guess we can use home directly actually. Let me see. Okay, let's try it like this. App navigator or home navigator. No, if up or app. Let's see if this works. Yeah, so you see I'm signed in and now I got redirected to home directly. That's cool. Yeah, so let's implement the sign out. sign out button, and then we are gonna, so we implement sign out, then we implement the sign in, and we can like play around, test a bit, and we should be done with the part one, which is authentication. So let's go into profile. So here we have the logout. We can import the Firebase class and do Firebase auth. I think it's called sign out. Let's see. So now you see I signed out, I got redirected properly to the sign in screen. Looks good. Now I think last part, let's do the login. All right. So I go to the login screen. So same then for the sign up, we need to store the email password in the state. So we create the login state. I'm gonna import also the Firebase class. So email and password. We initialize the state. We create set email and set password method. Oops. All right. Let's see. It seems to complain. Oh, set state. I'm getting tired, I guess. I'm gonna get some coffee right after we finish this. And now we need to store these values in ancient text. This set email and set password. All right. And when we click login, we are gonna authenticate with Firebase. So auth sign in with email password, I guess, is the method name. Let's see. Sign in with email password. Perfect. So email password. We use await and we put it into a try catch. All right. So if there is an error, we display an alert. And I think that's it. Let's try it. Oops, sorry. So login, email. Oops. set state is undefined. Oh, I forgot to add the auto bind decorator. All right. Oops. Okay. So in login also I should use secure text entry for password. Okay. I think my password was foobar. Let's see. Yeah, seems to worked. Perfect. Log out. Boom. So I think we are done for part one. I hope this was useful to you. If you have any feedback on how also maybe I could improve things on my end, let me know. And I will try also to record maybe a part 2 and 3. And yeah, so for now, I think I'm just gonna take a small coffee break. And thank you for watching. Bye.